This is the latest edition of Front Up, and I'd like to present our first person for today, and it's Mr. Andrew Vorce from the Planning Department. Andrew, welcome to Front Up, and happy to have you here. Can you explain a little bit about all of your responsibilities to start with?
Well, thank you, Whitey. Thanks for inviting me. Yes, I run the office that provides staff services to 3 different organizations. The NPDC, which is the regional planning agency for the island, Nantucket Planning Board, which covers the regulatory aspect here on the island, now the Zoning Board, and then we have co-responsibilities, shall we say, to the Board of Selectmen to help them with their issues, as well as the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Wow, that's a lot, and I think you've got a great staff. As I went in there this morning, and they all were bright, smiling, and cheery, and
every day, absolutely.
That's great. I think so. I was interested in discussing a couple of your projects, namely the Wilkes Square project and the is it the ocean management, or is the ocean plan? What do you call that?
Right, the ocean management plan that's just been released by the state.
Okay.
Right.
Now, let's start with Wilkes Square first. And what's the status on that? I know they were here a few days ago. Where do you stand right now with that project?
Right. The last generally public session for the CBT contract, CBT is the architect.
The architect, yeah.
From, that was chosen to develop a conceptual plan and an outline for the area. There were 3 public sessions that were held. 2 were open house style meetings, which is a new meeting venue that we tried, and it turned out to be very well. It was
I went to a couple of those. It was excellent, yeah.
Right. The architects were present. People could have one-on-one conversations. That was at the American Legion. We thank them for making that available. So they are now preparing a final report, taking in all the input that they received from various people. We do have a website on the town's website. You can go to Of Interest to All and see the Wilkes Square information that's posted. There'll be a final report delivered, which includes an economic analysis as well as a traffic analysis. That will come back to the Board of Selectmen. It's their contract, basically. And then I'm sure we'll get some idea of what the next steps will be.
Now tell me, are you still having it with and without a garage, or have you decided one way or the other?
This exercise was to present both options. So there's 2 options, each have different implications, and so there are still 2 at this point. But what has come out of this, and I think it's been a very good starting point, is a basic block structure that we can build from. So it would work with or without.
Oh, so you've got a block, and then you could fill that block in if you didn't have a garage.
That's right.
But what would you do if you didn't have a garage? What would you do about parking?
Well, that's an excellent question, and we're open to all suggestions. It's clear from a parallel study that we've done that there is a deficiency, and the range is anywhere from 77 to over 600. So, you know,
these are cars?
Of parking spaces.
Parking spaces.
For the demand that's in downtown. So if you take an average of that 300 odd spaces need to be created somewhere. Now, we've heard other alternatives, such as a deck on the existing town parking lot, a shuttle bus system that would have parking outside of town. And then there may be other ways to introduce management. Paid parking is an issue that comes up all the time to the Board of Selectmen. So they have a lot to take in here and think about what would be the courses of actions to pursue.
Now, would the Board of Selectmen make some of these decisions, or how would we come to the final decision?
Well, I think the various boards and commissions should at least weigh in and give some sort of recommendation to the board. They've been, the HDC and some of the committee members that you know that have worked on this have been extremely helpful. David Barham has been one that has taken an active role.
Yeah, we've had him on the show a couple of sessions back.
Okay, so you've had a chat with him about it.
Yeah, but we're talking to you today, and there's some questions that I'd like to ask you, such as who's going to pay for it?
Well, the question is, what is it? And that's what we need to know before we start putting numbers to everything. But what our approach has been is to not seek extensive town funding. That we're looking for opportunities to either create possible trades of value through rezonings, through changes to the zoning bylaw that make following the plan an easier route than maybe some of the other developers have gone through. There's opportunities now and possibly in the immediate future for grant funding for certain facilities that help in a downtown.
I've heard nasty rumors that you might put all of the town functions that are out of town into one of the buildings on the property.
Well, there was, in one of the earlier versions, there was a super town hall, and this was a concept that the designers thought was worth a discussion. That has changed.
Oh, okay.
But there has been a prior vote of the town meeting not to move government functions out of the downtown.
How about into downtown from the outlying districts, such as your offices?
Well, one of the ideas is to create possibly a permitting or land use building that would house planning, zoning, building department. All of those could come together under one roof.
Yeah. And is there any chance that the courthouse could be located down there? Or what's going on with that? I've heard rumors about that.
There have been discussions about the inadequacy of the current courthouse facility.
Right.
Anyone that I think has interacted with that on the second floor knows that to be true. And so one of the possible sites, could it be located on part of this site or not? That's certainly something that's been raised.
Now, you've got multiple owners of the properties now. How do you manage something like that? Because the town doesn't own any of the property, as I remember.
Right.
Yeah, but you've got 4 different owners. How do you get them to coalesce into some kind of coordinated activity?
Well, and negotiation. It comes down to bringing an offer about, similar to entering into any sort of agreement between parties. What would the town do? What does the town bring to the table? And then what will they agree to do? So
you'd get rid of the fuel tanks, I presume. That would be one portion. Would you keep the grocery store?
I think that throughout this entire process, the one unanimous direction that we've gotten is that a grocery store, food store is essential to be located downtown. So we have planned for that in all of the scenarios, that must be located somewhere here. Now, again, that's something that we currently don't have a real say in, and we're hoping to get that, again, through the implementation of the plan, that there would be a grocery store of similar size. It may not be in the same building, but it might be located somewhere on the property.
Yeah. Now, how about housing? What has been is the thinking about housing downtown?
Well, it's important to remember that under the current economy, planning for anything in the future right now seems futile. But I believe, and I think everyone believes, that the economy will recover and that this is an area that's attractive for housing. We think that there would be a good opportunity for a mix of housing types here, and we've looked at including at least some affordability in a portion of the units, especially closest to Washington and Candle Street.
And then one other idea that I heard somewhere along the line, maybe from David Barham, is that if you bought a house, you might also buy a parking lot in the overall parking place in the overall parking lot, and so that would defer some of the costs of building this facility. And then I presume when the people weren't here that you could rent out their spaces and things like that, so you could have a coordinated activity. Is that still in the thinking stage?
Yes, as part of financing, and I know you've been involved in a lot of discussions about how, car issues and how we do a better job managing traffic, that there might be a way to at least have a space available off-season, that you would own the space. It would be exclusively yours in the off-season, but that it would go into the mix during the peak season.
Oh, okay.
And there might be a way to discount that for people who own, or...
Oh, interesting.
That all has not been thought through, but there is the thought that there is a market for that in the surrounding area, that might be a way to contribute to the financing.
I know this is a model I believe you brought in of the Wilkes Square project, and I see this would be Main Street along here, and this is what, Candle Street here?
That is Candle, yeah.
Yeah, and so that the parking lot would be centrally located, and that the I guess this would be the grocery store.
Correct.
And this would be open space. Now there's a hotel in here. Is that a high-end hotel, or what is it?
The economic analysis shows that there would be the possibility, and again, this plan doesn't prescribe a specific use, but says, according to the numbers that are from here, that up to 50 rooms might be viable in a location that is close to the water. And you remember, out on the finger piers are the cottages. Yeah. They have one of the highest rates of occupancy on the island.
That's right, yeah. Right. And this is where the marina is, right out here.
That's right.
And I presume the people might want to come ashore and have rooms and
have facilities. Yeah. And there might be this synergy between the operation of the basin and that particular location.
Yeah. And isn't this where the Remain Nantucket has that their property right there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the idea there is to have a significant presence as you enter into the downtown. Right now, it's a pretty large asphalt property, and you see the buses there. In this plan, the buses are relocated to a central area behind where the substation is. The
substation would stay there.
That has to stay.
Because that's where we get all our power and distribution. Yeah. And how about that other brick building? Does that stay, or?
The two existing buildings would stay and would be used as part of the overall plan.
Yeah. Okay, well, now I'd like to switch to the ocean plan. Thank you very much on that one. It's still a work in progress.
Absolutely.
Now, what's happening in the ocean plan?
The ocean plan, the states has embarked about a year ago on a plan for the state's coastal waters, which basically run 1,500 feet offshore to a point 3 miles.
3 nautical miles.
3 nautical miles, thank you. Which is your territory here, absolutely.
No, it's your territory. We're land-based, but okay. Yes.
So this very innovative plan, which was proposed partially by our own Senator O'Leary, basically is a spatial planning exercise to look at the state's coastal waters, try to come up with areas that are appropriate for certain activities. Wind energy certainly has come to the forefront as possible location in these areas. There's still questions about whether it's viable, but there are certain activities that would be incompatible, such as certain bird flyway areas, shipwrecks, certain types of subsurface soils, things like that. So this is the first effort to get that mapped out.
Okay, well, Andrew, I really enjoy having you here. It's been a pleasure, and I know you've got a very busy schedule. I don't want to keep you too long.
All right.
We'll have you back, I'm sure, in the near future.
Great.
So thank you very much, and
appreciate
it.
Thanks a lot.